Hello, grade ones. Today we are going to look at probability terms. Our learning goal for today is to show that you understand and can correctly use the words certain, likely, unlikely, impossible, and equally likely. In order to be successful at what we're going to do today, I want you to be able to show that you understand the words certain, likely, unlikely, impossible, and equally likely. I want you to show that you understand those by putting different events in the correct spot. That'll make a little bit more sense when you get to the work, but for now, that's what our success criteria for today is. So let's take a minute and stop and think about, why do we need to learn these terms? It's always good to ask why. Well, there's a couple of reasons. First of all, it's just the language of probability. It's the words that people who study math use to describe different aspects or different parts of probability. The other reason is just because we use them in everyday life. So it's good to know what it is that we're talking about. It's good to know that we use these words properly and correctly. So let's get into it. Our first word, our first term, is certain. This means that it is going to happen for sure. You can't stop it. There's nothing that you can do that will stop this. So, for instance, I will be a year older on my birthday. That's definite. That's certain. I am obviously going to be 1 year older. Nothing's going to change that. The pups in Paw Patrol are going to save the day. That always happens. There's nothing that can stop that from happening. That's what certain means. Our next term is likely. Likely means that it will probably happen, but something could stop it. So for example, here, we will play outside at recess. Now the thing that it says is that it could rain. So usually if we have recess and it rains, we don't go outside. Another example could be, let's say you want to go and watch a video on YouTube. Well, that will probably happen, but what if your internet was down? Or what if your computer wasn't working? So normally you go and hop on the computer or the tablet or the phone and watch something, but something could stop that from happening. Our next term is unlikely. It's kind of like the opposite of likely. And what it means is that there's not a very good chance of it happening. So for example, it will rain every day for the next 2 weeks. Now, it could happen. I know where I grew up in British Columbia, it was possible, but here in Ontario, it's probably not going to happen. It doesn't seem very likely to happen. It might, but it probably won't. Another example, imagine that it's the middle of October. So it's fall, the weather's really cool. Something that is unlikely to happen is the ice cream truck coming around. It might happen, but there's not a very good chance of it happening. Another term is impossible. This means it will never happen no matter what. So, I saw a pig flying an airplane. Obviously, that can never happen. Airplanes are really, really complicated, and pigs are, well, they're pigs. They can't fly airplanes. Another example would be my favorite baseball team, the Toronto Blue Jays, winning the World Cup. That's impossible to happen because they are two different sports. The Toronto Blue Jays would never, ever, ever play in the World Cup. So I know that that's impossible. Our last term is equally likely. So that means there is an equal chance of something happening. The same thing could happen, either this or that. You might have heard it as a 50-50 chance. So for example, when I flip a coin, you have an equal chance of getting heads or getting tails. Or when you roll a die, you have an equal chance of rolling an even number, a 2, a 4, or a 6, as you do rolling an odd number, a 1, a 3, or a 5. So those are the terms in probability that we use, and as you can see, we use them also in everyday life, and we can apply them to everyday life situations. So that leads us to what you're going to do today. So you're going to do a couple of things. The first is kind of like what you did on Monday with the Pop the Words That Don't Belong activity. I have some events, and what you're going to need to do is take those events, read those events, and then put them in the proper column, put them in the proper space based on how likely it will happen. So you read the event and you say, okay, is this certain to happen? Is it likely to happen? Is it unlikely to happen? Or is it impossible? So you need to drag the event underneath the proper term. Once you've done that, I'm going to ask you to open the document that I created. And what I'd like you to do now, you need to think. I want you to think of 2 of your own events, 2 of your own examples for each type of outcome that we talked about. So 2 examples of your own examples for certain, 2 of your own examples of something that's likely to happen, 2 examples of something that's unlikely to happen, and 2 of your own examples of something that's impossible to happen. So again, going back to our success criteria, I want you to be able to show me in the work that you do that you understand the words certain, likely, unlikely, impossible, and equally likely by putting different events in the correct spot. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. And good luck. Have a great day, guys.